Hey y'all, my bad. I was finishing up with my future husband. We doing the wedding planning and future planning and working through difficult times.
You
And
better scratch and give us ring.
when you're the baby, and you're spoiled, and you get married later on in life, and I ain't that old, but I said later on in life, like I'm like 50 or something. Ain't better, you know. Working together with other people is something that the Lord helps you with, for sure. And make sure that you find someone that you're willing to work together with, that you love them enough to problem solve with them, and not just I'm gonna do this my way because that's the way it's always been done. So that's a little Kellie Key for today.
Look, Kellie Key.
Listen, today. That means I don't have to do it.
That ain't no gem or jewel.
It's a key though.
It's a key. We still need
No, you don't.
jewels,
No,
gems. Which one is it? Jewels.
It's
Jewels.
whatever you want it to be.
What's going on?
All right. Well, let's do this one, and then we'll see about the next one. Whoever's ready. Go for
Me. Boom shakalaka.
Top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Worst Ones Podcast. This is the podcast for us preachers' kids who come and be the absolute worst. My name is Rudy Wilson. I'm a preacher's kid. Kellie Leasy is in the building. She is a preacher's kid. And we got J. Rihanna in the building. She is a preacher's kid. J. Rihanna, let's start with you so Kellie can finish her snack. How art thou? What's been going on?
I'm doing all right. It's been very busy, work, school-wise, but that's expected. My back is healing. Thanks for asking, because y'all definitely came for me about throwing it out at the concert. The ibuprofen and the heat pad is working. It's funny because I actually have my back massager right here with heat.
Well, they look good though.
It is followed by my heat pad. So y'all thought I was playing, but no. So we're doing better on that front. One thing I was debating last week. I had 100% decided. But in our accountability for our health care and our fitness and wellness, I just wanted to kind of challenge myself. So back in the pandemic, I used to do 30 days and 30 miles. And essentially, I would just find a new path, a new trail, and do at least a mile a day. But I also had all the time in the day to do that. So I decided I was going to attempt to do 30 miles in 30 days. I've been sticking to it, even though it's been hot. Today is probably the first day that I haven't walked yet. And I'm really, mentally like, after this podcast,
We both
out
going.
there, sis.
We're both going after the podcast.
Are you going, sis? Or even if I don't go, am I going to do a 1 mile walking video on YouTube? Because sometimes I do that. But what's today? Day 7. So I've done 6 miles.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I've just been trying to take it one day at a time, not get overwhelmed, prepare for this work trip I have next week, make sure my cat's situated. So, just adulting.
Do you have to board your cat, or your cat can stay by themselves?
So, that's a good question. This is our first trip. I was looking at places to board him. And a lot of people were telling me, like, do that as a last resort. Cats, I guess, stress out when they're outside of their normal environments. So I was very blessed. The Lord worked it out actually for me. My cat's godmother, yes, he has a godmother, is going to come house sit and cat sit for me while I'm gone.
Oh, nice. He is a wonderful godmother.
She is a wonderful godmother. She has a cat of her own, and so she's really good with cats, and Theo's really good with her. So I'm hoping all goes well. But again, this will be my first time without being with him like overnight. So that'll be interesting to see
How long are
he
you
does.
going?
I leave on Sunday, come back Thursday.
That's a good little trip.
I have to go for a conference.
Yeah. Where is it?
New Orleans.
Oh, nice.
Going back to New Orleans.
I love New Orleans.
It's funny because none of my coworkers have been, and I was like, I used to go every year for the Full Gospel Conference. I went back in 2021, and they're like, "Oh, you can tell us all the places to go." I don't know if you want to go to the same places I want to go to, and we'll see how this goes.
It's a good time.
Good.
Kellie,
Amen.
what's going on with you?
Life is great. Today, this week has been good. I started yesterday. So speaking of workout accountability, I started yesterday doing 2 a day, Tuesdays and Thursdays. So I got up yesterday morning and did a 6 a.m. workout. And then I went back and did a 6 p.m. little Zumba dance class. Yeah. So that's going to be my Tuesday, Thursday schedule. So super hype about that. I burned like 1,200 calories yesterday, and I was on cloud 9. Like, oh, this feels good. But today I'm at 400, and I'm struggling to get to my 600 goal. So that's why we're going walking after the podcast. And so yeah, so that was good. I took my future mother-in-law and sister-in-law to the wedding venue today. And so they loved it. And so that gave me a little more peace and excitement. So that was good. Work has been good so far. I've been setting boundaries in terms of leaving on time and not staying too late and those things. And so, like I said, life is good. Me and my fiance are continuing to learn and understand each other on this journey. Again, understanding that every conversation isn't happy and smiley and whatever. And sometimes you have to have those difficult conversations. I always say that I'm the youngest, but me and my brother are about 10 years apart. And so I really grew up as an only child. And so those sibling interactions and conflicts that you guys grew up with, I never experienced. So those little spats that you have and those little arguments that you have, and then you get over it quickly and you move on to the next thing because now we got to share our food and sit together in the car or do this together or whatever. See, I never experienced that. And so one thing that I've had to learn in all my relationships, but definitely in this one, is like recovery time. And for me to be quicker to recover, everything doesn't take a day for me to kind of process. Some things is we said what we had to say and we're gonna move forward. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna move forward. And so I think that's probably one of the challenges that I feel like I have. Even friendships, I've noticed it as well. It's not even just relationships, it's friendships. Just how to do that little conflict dance that I feel like people with siblings are able to do a little more, and realize like, okay, we had this moment, but we still love each other. We still down for each other. We're going to keep it moving. So I think that's a big lesson that I'm continuing to learn. But it's been good. Again, like I said in my Kellie keys at the start, find the person that you're willing to do that all with. I think that's important. I think people get caught up in, he has this, he looks this way, he works this job, he has this sort of money, he took me here, he did this for me. But baby, find the person that you want to be with when stuff ain't happy and great, and we not, drinking champagne on the yacht. Like, is it like in the middle of COVID when we stuck in the house for a year and we ain't got nowhere to go and I got to see you every day? Like, who you want to do that with? So yeah, so life is good.
I have a quick question for you, Kellie. Because I kind of think about this with my brother and his girlfriend, and even Jessica with her husband. Coming from having siblings, me and Jessica are 2.5 years apart, but me and DJ are 11 years apart. Obviously, I'm a little bit closer to my sister than my brother. Still have lots of love for him. But when Jessica got married, I I didn't really think about, when you get a new family, they're becoming your family. So like Lonell, I see him as the big brother I never had. And even with Erica being around with DJ, I call her my little sister. Now I will say it's a little different for me. As much as I love Erica, I'm processing myself that one day she might be the baby Rowland in the family, literally, like her name may be Rowland and she will be the baby. And I know that's like a personal, I got to work that out myself. I have nothing to do with her. But have you thought about that? Like, I didn't know your fiance had siblings, like how your relationship with his siblings will be as y'all move forward.
So, his siblings have been great. He has 5, and every single one of them have been excellent. I've been able to like really spend some time with all of them, and they've been good. One of my ex-boyfriends told me that I needed to date someone with sisters. He told me that I was super emotional. And he had all brothers, and so he couldn't understand all these emotions. And so he felt like I needed to with his sister.
We don't do all that crying over here.
Listen, I don't understand all these emotions because I had all brothers. Is what he used to say. You need to date somebody with sisters. So the Lord has blessed me with somebody with 3 sisters, both older and younger than him. And so it works out well. But they have been amazing. He's hung out with my brother and sister-in-law, and I think they've connected, and so it really has worked. Excitement, and this is my sister-in-law, this is my brother-in-law. Like that excitement to say that. Because I swear he has 5 of them, and every single one of them have been amazing, which I think speaks to his parents. Which speaks very much to his parents that that all of them have been great. So I don't have any qualms, any issues about it. Yeah, his little sister, his youngest sister, came to the venue today too. And I love she may be 21, 22. And from the first time I met her, like I could just feel and I'm, we're good with other women, especially young women. I work with, she's not a kid, but I work with younger women, and so from the moment I met her, it was like, oh, like I feel like she can already see me as like a part of the family before we even got to this point. So yeah, no, they've been great. They've been phenomenal. Yeah.
Awesome. I want that for all of us.
Yeah. For sure. I've been blessed.
Praise God. Praise God.
Sorry. Right. Risa gonna be like, y'all getting it, look, Kellie. Sorry, Risa. I had some keys in there.
We had some things to talk about.
You could break that up into both of the episodes.
two intros in one.
Right.
Well, yeah, now, I mean, all is well with me. Same old.
Why you not at the church?
I am. This
you just not in the set. You in a different room.
No. This is the background. If you see this purple wall and this little,
that's the church.
Have a white background one day.
That's what I'm saying.
That was last week. I was at my cousin's house.
Oh yeah, your cousin's house because you had to do laundry for the church. Don't have a laundry room.
Right. Yeah, no. If you see this purple background and this couch, this is the church.
We at the church. If we see the white background, we know you at your cousin's house doing laundry.
Well, if you see any other background, really, I mean that was just impromptu. Like he had hit me. I was supposed to do my laundry like a couple days before that, but something happened, and so he was like, "Hey man, if you want to just do it today, this would be a great time." I'm like, "But I got the podcast, whatever." So then you just do it over here. So it just worked out that way. it was all like kind of a last minute thing. Sometimes I do just go to the laundromat. Sometimes I may just watch it at my dad's house. It all depends on what side of town I'm on. But it'll get done one way or another. But I'm still thugging it. Still out here in these comedy streets, still out here in these church streets, still out here in these single streets. Yeah, man, streets, man. Married to the streets. Married to the streets. Yeah, even what you was talking about, Kelly, about find somebody that you can do all that type of, the hard stuff with. I think that'd be my issue a lot, and not so much me willing to do it with them. I think a lot of people don't be wanting to deal with, because I mean, you date me, I might end up living in the church one day. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I wish my husband would.
That's kind of a.
You go ahead.
It's kind of.
I'm gonna stay here. We can still do dinners together. However you want to work it out. If you want to stop by here for dinner, do your laundry, and then you head to the church at 9 every day. Do what you got to do. But as for me and my house, we're gonna be at the house.
We're gonna serve at this house, right, and not the house.
Right. Right. We're gonna be at the house. House, not the house. Like
when I think about compatibility, like mine's go a little bit deeper, you know what I'm saying, than most people. Because this is like if you've been around or know my journey up to this point, just say even such as my parents, this can kind of make more sense because there's been a build up to something like this. You know what I'm saying? Like as far as like, wait, God told you to do what? So like I've had these moments quite a few times prior to something like this. So if you've been on the journey, it's kind of like, okay, this is Rudy's life. Yeah. Versus if you meet me right now, it's gonna sound like, wait, you're doing what? Like why? You know what I'm saying? So
you got somebody who's been on the journey with you who understands that this is your right now?
Yeah, I said my parents.
No,
I named who they were.
Someone that you can be in a long-term committed relationship.
I said I'm in these single streets, right? ain't nobody put up with it. So anyways, so yeah, but I'm good though. I promise you I'm good.
I believe you. If the Lord said it, I believe you good, honey.
I don't feel no ways tied. That's all I'm saying. But anyways, so our topic of discussion for today. So we've all seen it here, so we don't have to watch it again here. But I'll insert the video so that our viewers can know what it is that we're referencing.
I'm going to tell y'all my experience with Transformation Church, Pastor Mike Todd's church. In no way am I upset. I wasn't even upset around that time. But towards the end of this video, I also want to show y'all how God came through for me because I got receipts. So I was struggling at one point, and I mean, it was bad. I had just started a new job and stuff like that. And it's weird when you work for a resort. They make you wait a whole month before you even start. I don't know why they do that. So I was struggling to pay my rent, and I was like, they always, like Transformation Church, always put out, like, if you're struggling or anything like that, reach out to the church. Like, they always pushed it out. So I'm like, wow, they must be really helping people. And I know before I emailed them about my issue, they had just gave away a lot of money. I'm talking about, they gave one ministry $50,000. They gave this person or this family $10,000, $20,000, $30,000. Like, I mean, giving out money. And so I was like, okay, like, all right, Lord, I'll reach out. So I reached out to them, and I told them, I gave them proof. I'm a very honest person, so I gave them proof. And all that I needed was like, when did I start? May. So all I needed was like $1,556, right? And I was just like, told them my situation, gave them my job offer letter, also gave them a letter from my boss stating what I do, how much I get paid an hour, all of that, just being very transparent and honest with them so they're not thinking like I'm trying to be a scammer or anything like that, right? And so I also gave to them a lot, like not just tithes and offerings, but like sacrificial seeds, only when I felt led to. Okay, so the amount, like I said, that was the amount that I was asking. I gave way more than that amount, way more. And they emailed me back, and I also gave them a PDF of everything I owed and stuff like that, and my landlord name, number, apartment complex, building name, everything. They emailed me back a couple of days later, and they was like, I'm not qualified to be helped. And so I'm like, not qualified to be helped? Like, I said, so what are the qualifications of being helped? And they was like, you have to be a partner, or basically either a partner, or you have to give them close to probably 10,000, or, you know, they have a number, a set number that you have to reach in order to be helped. And so I was like, but that's not what y'all say up here. That's not what y'all put out at all. Like, y'all do not say that. Y'all make it seem like when somebody needs help, that, okay, you're going to help. I'm not saying that you're obligated to do those things, but it's kind of misleading.
But we want to have a conversation in reference to, I guess, like the church kind of helping people financially. And after you watch the video that we watched, you will see that the young lady kind of had a just say a qualification issue when it came down to her getting help from the church. So we want to discuss, our topic is today, if we'll cover the fact that if you are qualified, if you tithe. All right, qualified if you tithe. What are y'all thoughts, first of all, on that video, just her particular situation with, you know, she came, she asked, you know, for help, and then they emailed her back saying, you know, basically, are you, you know, she wasn't qualified because she hadn't given a certain amount, so we can't give you a certain amount. Like, what's y'all thoughts, just I guess even on that in the video itself?
You want to go?
Go ahead, Kelly.
Okay. Well, right. So I understood her point in terms of it's very misleading to say, hey, if you need help, come to the church, and then you find out that there are qualifications to it. I definitely understand that the church, especially the size of Transformation, may or may not, you know, may not be able to give out $1,500 to, you know, thousands of people. I don't know what their benevolence fund looks like. So I definitely understand that they may not give it out to everyone. But I do, so it was two things I felt wrong with it. I don't feel like your qualifications should be based on how much you give. That isn't a criteria for benevolence. Because in even the fact that she tried to justify why she should get money because I've given this much money, I think it's a problem, because I feel like that shouldn't be tied together. That because I gave this, then you should give me this, or I've given more than what I'm asking for, and so I should get this back. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think that it should work that way. So I think that's my first issue, is like even putting that mindset in her mind that she feels like that because I've given this, I should get this back, is an issue. And then I don't think that there should be, like I said, you gotta tithe to get qualified. Again, I understand that churches also don't have unlimited budgets to give everybody what they need. But I think that they're, you know, it may be, hey, we give you the 1,500 this time, but if you come back next time, it's only the 750, you know, or we can give you 500 now, or something, you know, or something. But I definitely, just as a starting point, I don't think that if you don't tithe that you shouldn't be eligible or qualified to receive benevolence. I also don't, I get it, but I also wouldn't want churches to force people to be partners or members of the church before they helped either. I don't really like that idea either. You know, the resources maybe go beyond the money piece, you know, and so, hey, I need $1,500 to pay the rent this month. Okay, so if I give you the $1,500 this month, then what you gonna do for next month? So I paid your August 1st rent, but are you gonna have to come back September 1st and get another pair, you know, another $1,500 for rent, you know? And so what does the church do to kind of support and help? So, hey, I can give you the $1,500, but you also have to go to a budgeting class or a money management class, or hey, we got a job fair class, or something. I would prefer that, something that goes along with it. What is it? If you teach a person to fish, if you give a man a fish,
They eat for a day.
Teach a man to fish, he can eat forever,
Mm.
And so let's give the man the fish and teach the man to fish. And even if it's, hey, we can't do the whole 1,500. And I don't know how my dad does benevolence, but my dad is really big on like, what are you bringing to the table? What do you have? Like you need $1,500 in rent. You mean to tell me you don't have none of it? You tell me that your rent this month is $1,536, and you can't give me the $236.
Right.
You don't have $536. Well, why? And so those are the type of dialogues that I know my dad is going to have. Well, why not? Well, why? You know what I'm saying? Like, how you get to the place where you missing your whole, And so I think it may have just been more than just an email that you weren't qualified. Let's have a conversation of what we can do, where some other places you may be able to go for support, and then how we can help you in the future so that you're not in this situation versus just a nod, that's not it. So
I agree with you, Kelly. Is there an echo now?
It is. Yeah.
Is it for you, Kelly?
I don't hear an echo. I just hear like muffling something.
Well, it's not so much echo. It's almost kind of like
you're in the car, the windows are down.
I don't even hear that. It just kind of sounds like you may be in like a big space with the sound is carrying. Versus. But go ahead, you're fine.
Okay, I was about to say, because I mean, this is the same setup.
Yeah, you're fine.
But I do agree with what Kelly was saying regarding maybe how a church could help assist not only in the current moment, but also in future through classes or a mentor or something like that. I do agree with that. I think for this particular case, with it being Transformation Church, this isn't the first time I've kind of heard something like that or have seen something like this. I faintly remember, I think Transformation Church like annually gives away a lot of money to different groups, organizations, people, all of the above. I don't know. I know at one point the church donated like $1 million to Travis Green and his church when they were, working on getting a building. I don't know if you guys know that Travis Green is also a pastor. CeCe Winans has a church as well. I think Ty Tribbett has a church as well. Like several of your favorite gospel artists are actually pastors. William McDowell's another one. His church's in Florida. But for a church to be that size and, they don't have unlimited funds, but they do probably have a larger fund source than maybe your local, church on the corner. It's kind of hard to really say without knowing the details of how they go through the process of picking who gets the money, whatever. There might be some elaborate, well thought out plan. But one thing that I always was just kind of curious and wondering about mega churches, and kind of one of the reasons I'm not really a fan of mega churches is that you always not always, but sometimes you feel like just a number. You're one of 25,000, or you're one of 50,000.
Right.
And maybe the pastor doesn't know your name. If you want to talk to the pastor, you actually got to talk to the associate minister. And then maybe, depending on the situation, you're able to schedule a meeting with the pastor. But just not having that closeness, maybe, I don't know if that's the proper word, but whatever that word is, with the church, with the pastor, that's something that I personally am not the biggest fan of. And part of it is for things like this. Me and my dad were talking about when I first saw the video, I talked to my dad about it. And he was telling me like that actually a lot of churches have policies similar. Like you have to be a member if you want to have a funeral at the church, or if you want to get married at the church. It might be, well, you don't have to be a member, but then you got to pay an additional fee. or if you participate in ministry, because some people, like at Transformation Church, you got to pay a certain amount of tithes. For some churches, it's like you got to participate in a certain level of ministry before you can receive any type of benefit or compensation or whatever. And I think it just kind of, as Christians as a whole, we kind of have to be a little bit mindful, because the Bible literally tells us to, feed the hungry, clothe the naked, house the unhoused, the widows, like that's kind of what it tells us to do. But then here we come. Yes, the Bible said this, but we gonna do this, but we need to do this first. And so I think that can kind of make the lines a little blurry. At the same time, to Kellie's point, churches just don't have infinite amount of money. They can't do everything. But I can see how the optics, especially from this young lady's perspective, could not only discourage her from participating in church or tithing, since what was told to her was that your ability to receive help is tied to tithing. That could definitely, I could see, impact the way people view tithing, the way people view church, the way people view God. The Bible teaches us that there's nothing that we can do to make God love us more. But you're basically telling people in the church, if you pay this amount of money in tithes, then the church and God, because these blessings are coming from God, are now passed down to you. And so I think that can kind of get a little misconstrued. Even if the church did not have the funds to give the lady the money, I think even a deeper conversation would have been helpful. Hey, we don't necessarily have the funds, even if it was like, we don't have 1,500, but we got 100. And if you're interested, Deacon Johnson, he's been working with Bank of America for 20 years. He's offered to sit down and help you come up with a budget, like just something, even if it's not even what she's asking for. They did not turn around and offer her anything, from what we can tell. So I understand it's not necessarily a cut and dry, this is this, that is that. But I do think as Christians, we do have to be a little bit more mindful. It can't, we can't just brush it off and say, oh, this church policy. We're supposed to be held to a higher standard, and we have to answer to somebody who is aware of everything we do. You might be able to lie to your boss, but you can't lie to God. And if there is a situation where I don't know if this will be the case, but if there is a situation where, the church is just sitting on stacks of money and blowing it on strobe lights and fog gas, I don't know.
Right.
God sees it. God sees it. And even, I know that's not something people want to hear.
Our strobe light bill is due. We cannot cover.
Right. Yo, $1,500. We got to spend $15,000.
Listen, the strobe lights and the fog machine, budget might take over. But God sees it all. And even if we might not receive maybe the justice we feel like, God is still handling business on our behalf. And if you watch the whole video, I believe the young lady did, she received a blessing in another form. So God clearly took care of her. And I'm hoping that, the whole process, she saw how God's hand was still on her, even through it all. Because I know a lot of people, especially in this day and age, are quickly turned away from church. And I can see how something like this, but I've talked too long. So that's it.
Hey guys, sorry to interrupt, but we have a few church announcements. First, thank you all for listening, and make sure that you find us on YouTube at The Worst Ones Podcast. You can also find us wherever you find your podcast, Spotify, Google, Apple Podcasts. You can find us there at The Worst Ones Podcast. And when you get there, make sure you like, you comment, you subscribe, and you share. Thank you. Now back to the show.
I definitely see just say this type of activity, well, not activity as far as the whole being qualified and denied or whatever, but like as far as people reaching out to the church for money, like I deal with this type of stuff on a very firsthand basis, because for one, my dad's church is smaller, so it's not there's not like I don't know who the person is, just say at a mega church or a bigger church, but there's not like this finance team over here who whatever, like pretty much like if somebody's asking for something, like they're going like straight to my dad, you know what I'm saying? But a lot of times, because I am my dad's son, they may not feel comfortable with asking him directly, so they come ask me first, as if I have any authority to,
Right.
to be,
Help me out, brother.
right, to be handing out money from the church's, you know, bank account. You know what I'm saying? So I deal with this a lot, like whether it's you know, a homeless person off the street, because we have I think I've expressed before, we have a large homeless population around our church, and even those who come to the church for service or even just for help. You know, you and then even people who are homeless, but whether they have a roof over their head or not, there's definitely people who ask for help, who show up every week. There's people who ask for help who only show up when they want something. You know what I'm saying? And you definitely know, I definitely have kind of learned that when they are only here for help, it's not so much because they happen to show up today and I haven't seen them in 6 months, but it's the rhetoric that comes behind it. Like, you know, man, if y'all just help me, you know, I'm gonna start coming to church more, and they giving you the whole spiel, and it's like, we ain't even asking you to come to church more. You know what I'm saying? Like, right. But I can tell, like, you know, that you don't want more than what you're asking for in this moment until you're gonna want something else. Like, oh, you know, you've been staying in this hotel, they about to kick you out because, you know, y'all need the $500 to pay for another month, whatever the case may be. And mind you, and we're not a rich church by any means. You feel what I'm saying? Like, we don't have an unlimited amount of funds by any stretch to just, you know, to definitely be helping anybody out, just say every month, let alone even if you ask for, like how she was saying in the video, you know, give away $20,000, $10,000. You ain't getting that from him. You ain't getting that much from him. You feel what I'm saying? So, but I see this all the time. But my dad is the type of person where he feels like my dad gives away a lot of money. Like, sometimes it comes from the church, sometimes he'll just give it out of his own pocket. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, I could almost see why people probably feel like we just got it like that. You know what I'm saying? Because of how freely given my dad is, you know, and in his mind, you know, like there's other like, just say deacons or whatever, who may kind of be like, man, I don't know how pastor do that. Like, man, you know, like I wouldn't be helping people that much. But in his mind, his response is kind of like, well, especially the money that's coming from the church. He's like, well, this isn't my money anyways. You know what I'm saying? It's not my money to try to be holding on to. You know what I'm saying? But it's definitely a tricky situation, because which is a question I was going to even ask y'all. Like, you want to help everybody, but it's kind of like, but should there be a pecking order? Like, should you, if you are a member, you know what I'm saying, like, should you be able to get, just say, the full amount versus somebody who just happened to show up today? Do they get a half amount, or do you give everybody the same amount? And what if you're helping a person who only shows up when they need something over and over and over again, and then by the time you get to a person who is a member, you done ran out and you can't even help them? Like, is that fair to them? You know what I'm saying? Is it just a first come, first serve type of thing? You know what I'm saying? Like, how does a person or a pastor determine who they help, how much they help, you know, whatever the case may be? And because I do disagree when it comes back to the young lady's video, that there should be a qualification based off of like the amount that you give. That's kind of crazy because I mean, some people like when I was growing up at New Beginning and Tyler Perry was a member at our church for 5 years, however long it was. There wasn't a person in that church that was out giving him. You know what I'm saying? Like, because this was before he was even making movies and stuff, and he was already a millionaire. You know what I'm saying? A multi-millionaire just from the plays. Like, he was already on the front cover of the magazine because he had just bought a $5 million house, and this was only from stage plays. You know what I'm saying? So obviously, if Tyler Perry is giving as much as he's giving, he's obviously probably is not going to need help. You feel what I'm saying? He's like it's mathematically, it's just not gonna. It's probably the person who can only give the least, who's probably gonna need the most help. You know what I'm saying? So the amount is kind of crazy for sure, but at the same time, it's like, should there be a pecking order? And I don't know. Like, even when I think Janessa, you mentioned and I don't know if you were saying this for your dad's church or not, but one of y'all said something like, if you are a member. Or if you're not a member, you can't have a funeral there or whatever, or maybe or your wedding, or maybe you got to pay, whatever the case may be. Like but I'm saying specifically when it comes down to like helping somebody financially, like should there be some type of pecking order where if you are a member, you kind of fit in this bubble, regardless of how much you give. Like, but you are on our books versus a person who just showed up today because they rent due tomorrow, and after we give them this rent money, we're not going to see them, anymore. Like, should we help them as equally as we help somebody who's here every single week?
I think that most churches or most pastors will. Oh, I know the Jenkins family, because if they're a member and they're giving their time, and I like the thing with Janessa saying too about being in part of a ministry, that it's not, it's more when you're giving, it's more than just about money. And even to your point, Rudy, about, the difference between a member and someone who just shows up when they need something. I think for the people who are a member and they give their time, that when, Sister Jenkins comes and she needs, $2,000 for the rent, I'm, as a pastor, as a church, I may be more willing and I may more easily give it to her because I know Sister Jenkins, I know her kids, I know the situation because they're here, because they show up, because they serve, because in spite of, right, they can't afford to give $10,000 in the year, but she consistently gives, $100 every pay period, or whatever it is. And so I definitely feel like that churches and pastors would be more partial to that member that they know and that they understand than to someone who just showed up today. There may be more conversation, more discussion. You gotta, give me more information before I give you this money versus Sister Jenkins, we already know what's going on. She asked for, I can turn around the check today.
Right.
Versus it may be a 3-4 turnaround for the guy off the street because yes, while come to the church and ask us for help, we need some additional information about you and what's going on before we can do it. And so I don't know if there's an order per se, but I definitely think there's a willingness for an easier process for the people that are part of the church, members of the church, and we know their situations.
Right.
And I agree with you, same thing, Rudy, with my dad. My dad sometimes, a lot of times, give money out his own pocket. So much so that my mother made him get a separate account just so you can give people money out your account. She was tired of looking at the joint account like, who is, Cicely Tyson that you just put 250? I don't know where Cicely Tyson came from.
Cicely
Tyson.
Tyson.
Out of all the names in the world, I have no idea where her name came from. But who is, Denzel Washington that you just gave $1,500 to or $500 to? She was tired of seeing it.
Right.
So she was like, you get your own account and you get him money at that account.
Right.
But I don't care what you do. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so I think that's a pastor's heart. That's what they want to do. And especially for the Sicilies and the Denzels and the Nia Longs, that show up to church and get I don't know, and give, and give their time and their talent, each and every Sunday. But I do think that there may be, and this is a tough space to be in. Is there criteria when it comes to benevolence? Yeah, and when you talk about criteria, you talk about qualified or not qualified. You know what I'm saying? Like, do you meet the criteria? You qualify for it. If you don't meet the criteria, you're not qualified for it. But do I understand churches having criteria? But again, it just may mean I only give you some. You also have to do this. I give you at this time, but if you keep coming back, then no. For the man that only shows up when they need money, and you didn't follow any of the things that we said, that we agreed on that you would do, then no, you're not eligible to get money this time. Not that we want to withhold money from you or help from you rather, but there's things that we want you to do for yourself. So hey, Joe Smith come off the street and need some money. Here, we'll give you $500 today, but you must do this. And you refuse to do this, then when he come back next time promising to go to church, then no, you can't get it until we got the same class again next Saturday. You come next Saturday, we show that you're really trying to do that, then we don't mind continuing to support you, then to help you. I do think it's, and again, I didn't listen to the whole video, nor do I know anything about her or the context of her situation. And she didn't even explain, from what I heard, why they said that she. Oh, yes, she did, because she didn't have to spend $10,000, which is ridiculous. Like that's just foolish,
right?
Because the people who can, I don't even know $10,000 in what time frame, but the person who's spending $10,000 in a certain time frame probably don't need the $1,500, baby. Because I ain't giving church $10,000 in a year. I ain't got it. And if I had you on mute, Janessa, and if I had it, I probably wouldn't be asking for the $1,500.
No, I was just going to say, and something to keep in mind, at least for Transformation Church, from my understanding, they have a much younger audience or membership. So I can just imagine if you fresh out of college and you just, or fresh out of high school, or you move out there and go to the church, $10,000 where? You working at the Macy's for Christmas break or whatever.
Exactly. And them Gen, what are we? YG they Z's. Them Gen Z's are different when it comes to work. We got baby boomer parents that told us the way to life is to work 9 to 5 until you're 65 and you retire. Right. Gen Z's, they don't believe in that. They live a totally different life. And so, right. And I can see where some of them I'm going to be a social media influencer and I got the one check for my fitness videos and and so I decided to go out and get this $1,500 apartment that I really couldn't afford, but I got this $4,000 check from this one video I did that covered the first and last month's rent. And now we at rent month 4. And I ain't getting no another check, and I don't want to work 9 to 5, and I'm not going to go to Smoothie King or Burger King or McDonald's to pick it up. I'm just going to ask. No offense to Gen Z's, but y'all just different. Y'all leave a job without having another job.
Right.
Y'all just operate differently. And I'm all for it. Power to the people.
I agree with a lot with both you guys said. I don't know what I don't have enough time and mental capacity to really think about it right this second, what that would actually need to look like or should look like. But I do agree. I will say with my dad, I do feel like to certain extents, my dad treats or handles the church the way he handles me and his other children. My dad doesn't mind us coming to him for help. That's what he's there for. But when we come to my dad, we've got to have a plan. There's got to be some initiative on our side. And it because my dad's the way he is, it can't just start and stop at initiative too. He needs to see some type of legwork. And of course, at this age, since we know that's how my dad operates, by the time we come to him, we've already done the legwork, so we can just do this one presentation, get what we need to keep it pushing. But I do feel like my dad does this. I don't know 100% sure. I would have to ask him, but he does that to a certain extent as well with church members. I'm sure people have asked if the church can provide or if he can provide. And my dad definitely is a giver. But also he wants to know some more information. And it's all not, I wouldn't necessarily say, well, sometimes it is to determine not if he's going to help you, but how he's going to help you.
I like that.
Because I remember this one story about this guy who came to our church. He was sitting on the steps, and this is a success story, so I'm not like throwing anybody under the bus. But he was a drug addict. I think he was dealing with crack, heroin, cocaine, like just really into drugs, came set on the steps. And one of the deacons went out and just talked to him, bought him some food, made sure, got him to wherever he was staying at the time. I think the only thing he really paid for or gave money for was the food that he, bought him, but that wasn't breaking the bank. But just from that kindness in his moment of need, he started coming to the church and getting active. Long story short, he ended up writing a book, and, that took off and paid for him to get in a much better situation. However, it wasn't, the church's role wasn't, here, we're going to put you in a hotel and we're going to get you 3 meals for the next week. It wasn't any of that. But it was still able to help him. However, there's also been times where storm comes through, tree falls on a member's house, and now I think the one tree that fell on someone's house actually ended up killing somebody or killing 2 people in the church. But so now you're having to deal with funeral costs and trying to repair the home, and that, that family needed help. I feel like that situation's a little different. Ultimately, I think each situation may be a little different and may require a different approach to it. But it's kind of hard to develop just like a overarching, this is what we're going to do.
Yeah. Cut
for everybody, like regardless. I think that's a little bit tricky. But I do think there, like both of you guys have mentioned, there should be some type of process, follow up. I don't want to say like grade, but like some type of tally or some type of measurement to know that not only are you doing your part, this is working. Also, just so we're not wasting resources, because the church doesn't have.
Right.
Most churches don't have just a lot of resources to begin with. And then the last thing I want to say, because my dad just mentioned this a couple of weeks ago at church, he's doing this new thing where he wants everybody involved in a ministry. He's not telling you which ministry to be involved in. That's between you and the Lord. But, oftentimes there's a small group of people who kind of do everything at the church. And I was even thinking about it for myself, because I'm not as active as I used to be, just because my life has changed with grad school and the new position at work and just podcasts and just, things. I have other things on my plate right now. And so I was even thinking like, well, how can I do ministry? And I started thinking about what skills I have, what talents or things that could be useful for other people. And I just was thinking like, man, there are things that I'm really good at that maybe Rudy's not really good at, or Kellie's good at, but there are things that Kellie's good at that I have no business trying to attempt. And I was just thinking like, man, wow, our church probably has about 1,000 members. If 1,000 people really were involved in ministry and operating in the gifts that God gave them, it might not just be a money situation. It will be, oh, such and such, this is exactly what they do. He's got a workshop coming up on Saturday. Let's get you tapped in. I think we could honestly maybe even reach and help more people if we first tapped into our own gift. But that's a whole nother conversation for a different day, because people are greedy and selfish, and and all of the above.
No. So there's two things you said that I love about what your father does. And one, I love the idea of, like you said, everybody joining a ministry, you know, even if 50% of those people, even if not the whole 1,000, but 500 of them, you know, joined a ministry. And like you said, in an area that they're strong, an area that they're passionate about. Not, like I said, you go to the choir, you go do this,
Yep.
and you know what I'm saying? But like, let's find what's passionate about you. It may be a new ministry, something we hadn't
Yep.
thought about, because you enjoy doing, like my dad has now like disability services or something like that, you know, for students with or people with like sensory issues, when things get too loud and, you know, those things, and people who are able to assist kids and adults that get overwhelmed in the service. And that was a ministry he just started in the last couple of years, that of course as a school psychologist I think is phenomenal. But that came from, you know, I think it came from a mom who had a child with autism that would get overwhelmed in service and needed breaks. And so here are some of the strategies that support people with autism and people with sensory processing issues. It's not just my son. And so now they've created a ministry just to support people with disabilities, you know? And so again, it doesn't have to be the choir, the usher, the deacon board, the children's ministry, the youth, you know, the things that you typically see in the church. There's a million other needs that members have expertise in that benefit the church,
Yep.
you know? And so I love that. And then two, to the point about, I guess, non-members have to pay extra for weddings and funerals. I agree with that. You know, and it may not be, you know, a crazy, you know what I'm saying? It ain't no
Mm-hmm.
crazy or something fee, you know, but you pay, you're not a member, you got to pay $150, you know, rental fee or something more. Shit, when you see the cost of venues, I'm sorry, that's good. Let me go back.
Well, PTSD already.
Yeah, but yes, you know, but I 100% get that, you know, that there are some membership benefits that you have in joining a church. There membership benefits to joining a gym. You know, Rudy's gym, there's difference between the person that comes in and pays $20 just for the day access and the person who pays $20 for the month. You know, the $20 for the month, you also get use of this and this and this. Or the 20 days, you only get to use you know, or whatever. So there's definitely benefits to membership. And so I agree with that. And like I said, and I think there's something to be said about people who give their time, their talents, you know, and their tithe to the church.
Right.
And there isn't like a hierarchy or order. I mean, and maybe there is, you know, but I yeah.
No, I'm with you. Like I said, it definitely benefits to membership. I think it still is tricky, because and I guess discernment really matters, because you don't want to like not help somebody, and then next thing you know, they're making a TikTok video about you. You know what I'm saying? And they got you out here looking crazy. But at the
Right.
same time, what if you have something in place where you saying like, hey, okay, we're gonna give you the $500, but you need to take this budgeting class, whatever. They don't want to take the budgeting class. They go back and ask for another 500, and then they still making a TikTok video about you. You know what I'm saying? Saying, oh, they tried to make me, do all this extra stuff. So it's kind of like you can get slandered when it comes down to helping people one way or another, whether you genuinely tried to help.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Versus the person who was like, well, no, you don't give enough. You know what I'm saying? Our strobe light bill is due. We can't, whatever. Like, so it's a very, very tricky situation. Because you don't want to church hurt somebody. You don't want to, nor do you want to make God look bad, or your church look bad, or whatever the case may be. And sometimes you can get bunched up with the bad apples. You know what I'm saying? Like, there are some people out here who are just flat out, not some churches that are out here that are just flat out not doing the right things with the money, not helping people out. People are tithing to have meat in the storehouse, but you are trying to keep the storehouse packed, you know what I'm saying, as opposed to passing some of the the meat that's in the storehouse out to help people. And that's my dad's biggest thing. Like when he thinks about us tithing and stuff like that, it's not just to pay the rent or whatever like that. Like it's to help people. It's to be able to, you know what I'm saying, help people. But even when, especially once again, we have a huge homeless population that's near our church, even that can be tricky. You know what I'm saying? Because some people can say, yo, I need money to, to try to get this hotel room. I got my baby with me, whatever like that. But then another homeless person who comes all the time may say, yeah, that girl that you gave that money to, yeah, she went and smoked crack with it. You know what I'm saying? Like she just used it on drugs. She never did go do a hotel room. So but we're not necessarily like following these people around, you know what I'm saying, to like know what it is that they're doing with it. But it's like, okay, well, next time when we help somebody with just say like a rent payment or a hotel payment, whatever, we're going to do one or two things. Either we'll write a check that has to go directly to that, you know what I'm saying, or swipe the church's card or whatever that can pay whatever that entity is directly, as opposed to just giving somebody cash. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like you want to use the money to help somebody, but you don't want to get played at the same time. And that same $500 that you gave somebody who just smoked it all up, that could have went to somebody else who really needed it. You know what I'm saying? So it's a very, very, very tricky situation when it comes down to helping people. Even helping, like I say, it don't even got to be somebody who's homeless. Just helping anybody. Like you never know. But I do agree that if somebody is a member, even if they can only afford to give a penny a year, you know what I'm saying, but they're there, they're active, they serve, even if it's just they pick up trash in the parking lot, whatever. Like they're showing some type of like commitment to this ministry. To your point earlier, Kelly, for one, the pastor and even just the members, like we're gonna know that person's situation a little bit more, because we know Brother Denzel Washington. He's always here, you know what I'm saying, picking up trash. He's always here, you know what I'm saying. So a lot of times somebody like that, their benevolence need may not even ever have to reach an email from the church, because other members in the church might be like, yo, bro, I got you. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know, right. I take you home every Sunday. You know what I'm saying? I've dropped you off before, and I see, you know what I'm saying, that you got, bags over your windows because the storm blew it out or whatever the case may be. So I'll go ahead and replace that for you. Or I know Deacon so-and-so know how to do that type of work, so I'll pay for it. He'll put it in for you. Like when you're serving, you're putting yourself in a better position to get help without even having to go through just say the same protocol as everybody else. You feel what I'm saying? Versus if you're only showing up when you need something, you're going to kind of put yourself in a tight situation. That's even our relationship with God. A lot of times we go to God when we need something versus just talking to him all the time. And a lot of times when you have that constant relationship with God, you'll find yourself not being in need as much, versus if you're only showing up to him, when you need something. You'll realize that you're going to always be in a position to need saving, as opposed to renewing your mind. Okay, like I'm gonna get out of this tight jam for August 1st rent, but these next 30 days I'm going to operate a certain way that by the time September 1st comes, even if my rent is $500, even if I was only able to save $250, if I show back up to the church and ask for rent money again, it looks way different if I ask for $250 30 days later than to have to ask for $500 all over again. If I'm asking for $500 again, and then October 1st $500 again, and then November 1st $500 again, it's going to be pretty clear that I'm not trying to, like your dad said, bring anything to the table. But if I show up for $500 August 1st, $250 September 1st, maybe only $50 October 1st, I think that church would be willing to still help me out versus, me needing the same, or even if not even needing more. If you need 500, August 1st, and then need 750 September 1st, I mean, what have you done the last 30 days?
Right. No, I agree. Like I said, my daddy definitely gonna probe you And like I said, but that's just how he is in just life, you know, even as a child asking for money, okay, I'll give you such and such to go on it, but you're gonna have to get the rest of it, know.
Right.
So yeah, I think it's, but like you said, I think it's tricky. I think it's a fine line. I definitely think that there should be a process. But I think it can be tricky. And I was gonna say, to your point about, somebody may drag you on social media in either way. I think the hard part about social media is people take what people say at face value, even when they're not telling the truth. A real researcher is going to figure out for themselves, like, hey, what is the process for benevolent? You know what I'm saying? If you really wanted to know, we can call transformation and say, hey, I'm a member, I'm not a member. What's your process for benevolent? We can figure it out. The hard part is most people don't, because especially kids younger than us, they've always had everything so accessible. They don't even realize, what it looked like to go and call and ask questions or whatever, because I could just ask Siri and she's going to give me the answer. Or I can just listen to this 30-second clip of something and it gives me the information that I need, versus having to go and do the work to find out what is true versus what somebody just said. Because what she said may not even be true, and we just talking just hypothetically in general, and doesn't really matter. But what she said may not even be true. So who knows?
And this conversation wasn't, we're not bashing transformation. We're just talking about just church at large. General, like, how do you handle, those type of situations? But like I say, it may not be true. You know what I'm saying? And if you already feel a certain type of way about mega churches or even Mike Todd, that's just gonna fuel your little theory anyways. Like, oh, look at it. Look, this girl said, yeah, blah 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 blah, and it's like, and then you go, you call transformation right now, and they give you $10,000 just out of nowhere, and you be like, oh, well, they helped me,
right?
And they don't even know me. I just called this out of nowhere. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. So you don't know all this. We don't know. And maybe everything we just said transformation already did. We paid your $1,500 rent 2-3 months ago.
Right.
Know, and you coming back every month asking for it again. At this point, I'm gonna need you to give a little more before I give you. But yeah, but who knows? So,
yeah.
But I think it lended to a good discussion, though.
For sure. For sure. All right, Jay Rihanna.
No, Kellie gave a key. I got y'all next week.
Oh wow.
Well, next week is as we transition right into next week.
Okay. Well, so do you want me to not let the cat out the bag, Kelly, or because we are about to record another episode, but do y'all want to do y'all social medias? Because because we're gonna talk about something totally different. So we want to just end this one and.
Oh, that's fine.
Okay. All right.
At Princess Kels 51, still private, but somehow recently I've been getting a lot of new people who want to follow me. I don't know why.
That could go either way, friend. That could go either way.
Right. You're right. But it's still private and I ain't accepted them. So
okay.
I'm Jay Rihanna _. We have fun over there. Now I play and kiki with y'all, but I don't play about these two. So if there's any shenanigans, specifically concerning Kellie and her fiance, I got all the smoke. Okay, leave Kellie alone. Don't try to follow her trying to get no information.
Exactly.
Okay.
People.
But y'all can come follow me. We have fun over there.
But you can't follow me because I'm still private.
And you can't follow me because I don't have social media. So follow.
What's the point?
Right. So follow Jay Rihanna _. And follow our producer at RHESA _G. She has limited photos and stuff. She'll show you over there. She has a baby. You just won't be able to see it.
Right. Like a celebrity. You see like the back of the head, like a finger or something.
Right. But other than that, we appreciate you guys for supporting us each and every week. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, and most of all, share. We are the worst ones, and we will see you next week. Janessa, can you scoot your fingers over a little bit? There you go.